When Jalen Green was selected with the second overall pick in the 2021 NBA draft by the Houston Rockets, he had as much hype as any second overall pick that we've seen in recent history, and that's because what he put on film before entering the NBA was flat out incredible. In high school, Jaylen Green was one of the best players in the country, if not the best player in the country, and then he played a year at G League Ignite, and his NBA potential was just obvious. But he didn't go number one overall, as Cade Cunningham did, and according to Jalen Green, that left a chip on his shoulder, as mentioned in this Summer League interview going into his rookie year.
You made it known that you felt like you're the best prospect in this draft. How big has your chip been playing here in Las Vegas?
My chip been super big. They started that draft night when I got drafted number 2. I felt I was number 1.
Like any top pick, Jalen Green was headed to a situation in Houston to what was basically a losing franchise at the time. They had a 17-55 record the year before Jalen Green entered the chat. But Jalen Green's rookie season wasn't necessarily an example of a rookie coming in and kind of turning that team around. Jalen Green did put up 17 points per game, but in terms of efficiency, it wasn't that great. But his second year in the league, he improved to 22 points per game, but it was on slightly worse efficiency, shooting 41% from the field and putting up almost 18 shots. But here in Jalen Green's third season, he's actually taken a step back in points per game, back down to that 17 points per game mark that he was at his rookie season, but his efficiency is worse than ever. He's shooting career lows across the board. In field goal percentage, he's under 40%. From downtown, he's shooting 32%. So Jalen Green has taken a step back in efficiency. He's also playing less minutes than he ever has. He's playing 30 minutes a night as opposed to 32 his rookie season and 34 his sophomore season. So the question is, why is Jalen Green, who had an Iglesias before he was even drafted, who was one of the most hyped players in the league, who seemed to be making a lot of ESPN top 10 moments, a lot of highlight plays his first few seasons in the league, why does he now seem to be trending in not so much a great direction in his third season? Is this a normal third year slump, or whatever people want to call it? Or is Jalen Green maybe just not the type of player that's meant to carry a franchise that a franchise wants to build around? Because this league, shockingly enough, is more about how you look in highlight plays and if you could do switch-of hand layups and cool dunks that make it onto Instagram. So here we're going to take a little dive into the Houston Rockets and the Jalen Green situation and figure out why things are trending the way they are, because he was the second overall pick. He does have talent, but it seems a little questionable. There were a few games even in this season where Jalen Green did not touch the floor in the last 8 to 12 minutes of the game in the fourth quarter, meaning that the Houston Rockets just wanted to play other guys. So here we're going to dive into why exactly all of this is happening. So what we're going to do here to kind of paint the picture of the whole scenario in Houston is take a look at Jalen Green this season. And then we're going to look across the board in Houston, because what it really comes down to is, like, should they have him on the floor? How many shots should he be taking? And then that comes down to, like, who is he taking shots away from? Because basically the point is, this isn't a team anymore that has a standard of 17 and 55. this is now a team that's better than like the Golden State Warriors, and they're right there with the Phoenix Suns, and they're competing for a play-in spot this season. So basically, this isn't the type of team like it was 2 years ago where they're just gonna sit around and let people develop while basically playing bad basketball. And that's kind of what I'm gonna get into and really see if there's a case for that being true here. So let's start by simply looking at points per game. And if you sort every NBA player in points per game, you will find Jalen Green ranked 62 in the league in points per game, putting up 17.1 points per game, shooting 14.5 shots per game. He's just under 40% at 39.7. And the significant thing about that is that there's not a single other player in the top 100 in points per game in the NBA that is under 40% from the field. It's that simple. There is nobody from 1 to 100 besides Jalen Green who's shooting under 40% at 39%. And furthermore than that, Jalen Green is shooting 32% from 3. So it's not like his true shooting would really help the case, because actually most players on this list are above 32% from 3. In fact, about 90%, nearly 98% of the players on the top 100 in scoring in the NBA are not below 32% from 3. So basically what that means, Jalen Green is the least efficient volume scorer in the NBA. To find a player who's shooting under 40% from the field, you would have to go all the way down to player ranked 105. At 12 points per game, it's Alec Burks, who's putting up 39.7% from the field. But the thing is about him is he's shooting 40% from 3, so it kind of makes up for it when almost 6 of your shots per game are 3s. Basically, if you're an efficiency guy, it's not that productive to have Jalen Green as one of your go-to scorers. In fact, there's 105 guys who do it more efficiently at that clip better. Even a guy like Jaden Ivey shoots 45% from the field. Brandon Miller, a rookie, shoots 42%. Gedrick White shoots 47%. So that's where Jalen Green stands in terms of scoring efficiency compared to the rest of the league. So now that we've seen how Jalen Green ranks in terms of efficiency in scoring next to the best scorers in a league, let's now look at how he stacks up really against his teammates in terms of just production across the board, efficiency, really everything, because however you want to put it, the truth is a team like this, it kind of is a battle for minutes in that they're going into seasons, games, whatever you want to call it, not really having a sturdy lineup, because they're not some massive winning team with a huge expectation. Basically, whoever is going to produce for them is going to earn minutes at this point. So it's important to look at who's getting these shots, why they're getting these shots. And at this juncture, if the Houston Rockets still really want to deal with starting or giving a bunch of shots to somebody who's a sub 40% shooter. So let's start here with Alperen Sengun, who came in the 2021-2022 season, similar to Jalen Green, and he put up 9 points a game his rookie year, shot 47% from the field. But Sengun in year 2 took a massive leap to nearly 15 points a game, almost playing 30 minutes a night and shooting 55% from the field, also putting up around 4 assists a game, and his playmaking started to improve like crazy. And now here in year 3, Sengun is looking at a flat-out future all-star. He's shooting 53% from the field this year, and he's putting up 16 shots a game. Basically, they're running their offense through him and Fred VanVleet. That's correct. Alperen Sengun is the engine of the Houston Rockets offense, and that's not really up for debate. In fact, it's probably going to continue to trend in that direction, as Sengun in the 2024 calendar year is putting up closer to 25 points a night. So basically, Sengun has become a flat-out star, which absolutely impacts Jalen Green's ability and room to operate, because this guy was putting up 7 shots a game during Jalen Green's rookie year, and now he's shooting 16 times a night and probably should be shooting more. And now moving on down the list to the man who people thought would be playing for the Shanghai Sharks by now. Dillon Brooks actually has been incredible for the Houston Rockets, and once again, this is another player who quite simply is going to take shots away from Jalen Green, as it's amazing to have him on the floor for his defensive presence, but he's also shooting 39% from 3 this season, 46% from the field, putting up almost 14 points a night. He's absolutely crushing for the Houston Rockets right now, and another player who, if you're trying to win basketball games today, you want him on the floor over 30 minutes a night, undoubtedly. So this is another one for Jaylen Green, where he wasn't there his rookie season either. This is a player at the guard, small forward, whatever you want to call it, position. When he's hitting with 3-pointers, he's shooting the ball. So this guy, now Dillon Brooks, putting up 14 points a night, 4 boards, 1.5 assists. He's a part of their offense, probably a little bit more than people would have imagined, and it's worth thinking about if this will continue. It's not great for Jalen Green, who, as the 2nd overall pick, you would think by now he'd be running the offense, but now it seems like they're building their offense in different directions. And then moving along, the Houston Rockets rostered a Jabari Smith Jr., who's up only 1 point per game since last season, up around 14 points a game, but he definitely looks much better off of the dribble this season. He's playing around the same amount of minutes, at 31 minutes a night, but he's shooting 47% from the field. So that's up 7% from last season. You would have to think that this is going to earn him more shots and more opportunities going forward. He's now a 38% shooter from 3. That's about what Jalen Green shoots from the field. So this is another player on the Houston Rockets who's trending in the direction of like, maybe I need the ball more. So I don't know if this is a player that helps Jalen Green's case, right? You know, he came in, he was a 3rd overall pick. So similar to Jalen Green, they're going to want to give him opportunity, but the question is, for how long can they give him opportunity? When your field goal percentage improves 8% in 1 year from your rookie year to now, then you get more opportunity. But when those numbers go backwards, that's when they start to look to other players. Since Jabari Smith Jr. is a player for this team that is having it better than expected year, maybe even, putting up around 14 and 9 on almost 50% from the field this season. And our next player that we're going to cover here in the case against minutes and shots for Jaylen Green, he was Fred VanVleet, who the Houston Rockets signed to a 3-year, $128 million contract this past summer, earning him $40 million a year this season, $42 next season, $40 for the following season. So that man is earning $40 billion this season, and he is having one of the better years of his career. And the interesting part here that we're going to zero in on is the fact that Fred VanVleet, who's putting up 17 points a game, is shooting just over 40% from the field. To be fair, he's shooting basically the same as Jaylen Green, and he's putting up basically the same points per game. But that's actually the problem for Jaylen Green, is that this man is paid $40 million a year. He's also putting up almost 9 assists a game. He's running the offense. He shoots 38% from deep, so that actually helps in terms of his scoring efficiency compared to Jaylen Green. So he's basically slightly better than Jaylen Green in scoring, and he's a way better playmaker, and he's paid $40 million a year, and he's doing all this stuff now. You don't have to wait for him to develop. This guy has had a 20-point per game season. This guy has won a championship. This guy has contributed to a team that has beat the Warriors in a playoff series. So it's a different story than trying to build around Jaylen Green, and that's kind of the point here, is that this is another player, maybe the greatest example of someone thrown into the equation here that's just taking shots away from Jaylen Green. So if you combine just these players that I've mentioned, right? Dillon Brooks, Alperen and Jabari Smith Jr., and Fred VanVleet, all 4 of them either weren't there Jaylen Green's rookie year, or they weren't doing nearly what they're doing now. So all of that, it's just math. It's nothing against Jaylen Green. It's just math, right? Better to take away shots and opportunities. So it's almost looking like Jaylen Green might actually be a better fit off the bench for this team. But I'm going to let you guys decide in the comments what the Rockets should do, what you would want to do if you were Jaylen Green. Maybe he needs one of those roles off the bench, like D'Angelo Russell or something like that, and be kind of that scorer off the bench. Maybe the Rockets should stop giving the ball to these other players that I mentioned and let him shoot more. But let me know what you guys think about this whole situation, because it's looking like their second overall pick is not really what it was planned out to be, but they hit on some other picks in Alperen Sengun and Jabari Smith Jr., so we'll see how that goes. But thank you guys for watching this deep dive into us being honest about the Jaylen Green situation in Houston.